I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? First order of business is we had an executive session. However, there were no votes taken in executive session. Agenda is the approval of minutes of March 27th.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Pollak. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We have correspondence from the Smithfield School Committee relative to resolutions on financial literacy, gun-free schools, amend the Article 12 for contract continuation and binding arbitration resolutions. What's the committee's pleasure?
Do they require a response?
No.
We can put them on file?
Receive and file?
Sure.
Motion by Mr. De Silva. Second by Mr. Andriozzi. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, public comments. We have one sign up for public comment. That's Mr. Cabral. Would you please come to the podium?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Chris Cabral, and I'm the Vice President of the North Providence Little League here in town. This year is the first year that we've created a junior and senior division for the Little League, and the purpose of this new division is to create an inclusive league where kids ages 13 to 16 can continue to have the opportunity to play baseball. The standard, or I guess the long time resource for kids this age typically has been the Babe Ruth League here in town. However, through the course of having many kids that have gone through both our systems, both down in East and West, we've received a lot of feedback that children just have decided to stop playing baseball through that division and through Babe Ruth, primarily because of large roster sizes and lack of playing time. So we wanted to create an outlet for those kids that stopped playing baseball to continue playing. And so far this year, we've got 26 children, ages 13 to 16, to sign up. So it's been a very good success for first year. Just to provide some context, the North Providence West and North Providence East Little Leagues have been a part of this town for over 70 years, and we all know how important baseball is to North Providence. The East League was dissolved back in the fall, and the North Providence West League took them over, and we renamed and rebranded as North Providence Little League. So this has been the primary outlet and resource for baseball in the town for youth ages 5 to 12, both boys and girls. This merge was aided back in the fall by the efforts of Mayor Lombardi and both boards, including Mr. De Silva. Now this league represents 300 children in the town of North Providence, ages 5 to 15. In the fall, through the gracious efforts of Mr. De Silva, we were granted access to the use of the North Providence High School baseball field and given a permit for field access Saturdays and Sundays, 9 to 3 p.m. Our request we deemed minimal. We felt we did not want to intrude on recreational usage outside of the high school usage because there are so many organizations that utilize it, such as Babe Ruth, Connie Mack, and American Legion. We can all agree that the primary issue in this town is the lack of big diamond fields. Only two, with the high school and Birchwood being the two. When assessing our usage request, we determined that both fields, that we could use both fields, both Birchwood and the high school, but would like access to both, not just be relegated to Birchwood, while being mindful that we were not the only league in town, like I said before. I can tell you that I've had multiple parents, I've held multiple practices at Birchwood this year, and unfortunately I've only been able to use the infield once, primarily because of lack of drainage at the field. For those of you that are familiar with it, you can probably attest to the fact that the field resource, which is all dirt, is primarily beach sand. It just does not drain as well as with the high school field. Not that the high school field drains a whole lot better, but it is much better than what Birchwood does. At the direction of Mr. De Silva, we reached out to Lou Zamorelli at Babe Ruth, who has been given point person access to the allocation of field resource, to discuss accessing fields during the time that we were allocated. And unfortunately, he advised us he could not accommodate all of our requests. First off, let me commend Mr. Zamorelli and the Babe Ruth organization for their success. They are who they are, and we are who we are. They are a much more advanced organization. They've done very well in state championships through their resources and have been very successful. We're here to provide an outlet and opportunity for children to play baseball in this town. Mr. Zamorelli, when I talked to him, advised in the multiple organizations that I mentioned earlier, such as Legion, Connie Mack, and Babe Ruth, but also mentioned an AAU team and also another team that he supports that plays in the Newport League. What was most concerning is that this Babe Ruth team, that this AAU team, is a new team. They are the Rhode Island Reds team, of which 3 of 13 kids in the town, 3 of the 13 kids that are rostered on that team are North Providence residents. The others are outside. When I brought this to Mr. Zamorelli's attention, he advised me, when I gave him a list of dates that we needed, that at least 5 dates we could not use because the AAU team was utilizing that field. The AAU team, 3 out of 13 North Providence residents. Not only is AAU different from Babe Ruth, it represents different liability concerns, and I'm not certain what type of certificate of insurance requirements you have received from that. Mr. Zamorelli also cited that all Babe Ruth teams practice at the high school. However, in February, when Mr. Zamorelli was making comments, he advised us that we could basically utilize Birchwood at any point in time, thank you, for practices and so forth, and including games. So my question is, why do we have to use Birchwood all the time for practices when his team does not, when his teams do not? Many Babe Ruth kids that play in this town are also non-North Providence residents, while 100% of our teams are. I'm just not certain why they are granted primary rights for kids that are not actual that are not children of taxpayers. The bottom line is that we wanted to work together, but the feeling is that we're not being granted an equitable solution here, which should concern all of you, since the beneficiaries of the Babe Ruth usage extend beyond North Providence residents. Through the allocation permit that we've gotten, which has 11 weeks remaining, at 12 hours a week, there's 132 hours remaining. We've requested less than half of that for utilization at 60 hours, and are more than willing to give back the rest of the time to all the other leagues that need it. I just asked for an equitable solution here. We understand that Babe Ruth has contributed in-kind donations and have contributed a lot to the high school field, and we commend them for that, and we thank them for that. However, our organization alone at the former North Providence West, in the field that we've had down at Romano Field and on Woonasquatucket, for the past 6 years, we've put in over $100,000 in that field of our own money that we've raised. I just don't think we should be penalized or shut out because we have a new need. This is a need because we have a different age group. We need a bigger field. Unfortunately, the town does not have many fields to provide. We're utilizing other towns. We're not playing all of our games in North Providence. We're traveling to Johnston. We're playing teams from Pawtucket, Warwick, Smithfield. We're willing to go and travel, but we just ask for when we need the field home that we get access to it. Thank you.
Any committee members have any questions? So what would you suggest as a resolution, Mr. Cabral?
I mean, It's hard to say. I just think that if we were granted access and authority to have the field for a permitted use of time, and the time is really minimal, and especially within inside the parameters of what we asked for. We haven't asked for anything outside 9 to 3 Saturdays and Sundays, and we haven't asked for the full allotment on those days, with the exception of one day, that we just be granted and protected our status and rights to that field. I mean, it's about, out of the available access and time of recreational purpose there, it's about 12% of the actual time. And considering the fact that we represent 300 children in the town and many taxpayers, I hope that it's something that you guys will be willing to protect. I do understand, and I hope you guys understand that I respect what Mrs. Amarelli and everybody else has done down there for field work. But the town has contributed a lot to that too. The town does provide a lot of resource for that as well. It's not all them, whereas we have a history with our organization of pretty much managing our fields 100% of the time with minimal access.
Just for clarity and the facts, you were granted the field a certain amount of time.
Yes.
Babe Ruth was granted the field a certain amount of time. Was there overlap with that?
I believe that there is. In a meeting in late February, Mrs. Amarelli came and appealed to this committee. He had requested sort of primary rights, I suppose, I guess for a lack of a better term, and was sort of granted that by this committee. I'm not exactly certain how that was finalized, but I think that the feeling was that both parties should sit down in a room and figure it out. But the sheer fact is that we are an organization that I don't know if Babe Ruth considers a threat because we're taking kids that aren't playing. I mean, we have kids that aren't playing in Babe Ruth because they've chosen to play Junior League. We have kids that are playing both. We have kids that are playing Junior League because they've played Babe Ruth before and they don't want to continue playing. So we're not holding anybody back from playing Babe Ruth, but we just, because of lack of resource in the town, the resource being large-sized baseball fields, we're just asking the school committee to protect our interests, which I think we've tried to approach this with an equitable resolution, and I just don't feel like we're being met eye to eye on this.
So if you were given the field a certain amount of time and the Babe Ruth was given the field a certain amount of time, that would not work because of the obligations that both of the leagues have?
I think that the time that we've requested compared to the Babe Ruth organization, it should work because not many Babe Ruth games are scheduled on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I do know that they do have practices on Saturday mornings. But I think that the real stumper here is the introduction of this AAU team, which this is also a new organization, and Mrs. Amarelli has presented this as part of his Babe Ruth organization, but it's not. It's through a separate organization through AAU.
Okay, I'm gonna suggest that Mr. Ferroli, who oversees facilities, get you and Mr. Zamorelli together, get a short table or a long table, but try to work that out between you. You're correct, we've got one major field, which is the high school field. I would assume, Birchwood is more of a backup field. A lot of practice takes place there, and I'm sure when you want tournaments, you want the baseball field at the high school. So I'm going to ask Mr. Ferroli to get both parties together to try to work out an equitable solution. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Mr. Goho.
Thank you, Dr. Pilata. First of all, I'd like to welcome our new special education director, Ms. Cindy Van Avery, who is participating in her first school committee meeting. You have not lived until you've participated in a North Providence school committee meeting. So congratulations and welcome aboard. Stand up, Mrs. Van Avery. So I'd like to take a couple of moments to acknowledge some of the items that were just approved in the consent agenda. First, we had a number of retirements, so I'd like to recognize. We had 3 teachers retire. First is Colleen Aitchen, who retired after 13 years of service in the North Providence School Department at Centerdale. Mrs. Picardi sends me information talking to me about her attention to detail, genuine love of seeing children succeed, and and the fact that she was a strong advocate for parents. So we certainly accept her retirement with regret and wish Ms. Aitchen nothing but the best in her future endeavors. Also, we had Mr. Don Emerson, a longtime teacher at Birchwood Middle School and many schools here in North Providence for close to 40 years as a physical education and health teacher, coach of multiple sports, and athletic director. So Don is almost an institution in North Providence, and we really thank him for her many, many years of dedication and service to the town and to the students. No, I don't. Are any of the? I don't see him. I don't see either of them.
Retirees here?
No. No, I don't see any. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the retirement at the end of the school year of Mr. David Grosha, English teacher at North Providence High School, former athletic director himself, senior project coordinator, in many ways the father of the senior project at North Providence High School, who helped lead the school to great accolades and success, but most importantly, the tremendous benefit that the senior project has brought to our students. So we truly wish Mr. Grosha health and happiness in the future as well. And then the principal of Centerdale, Ms. Joan Picardi, has informed us that at the end of the school year, she too is taking advantage of the opportunity to retire young and healthy. Ms. Picardi has served for many years, I believe it's probably 18 years, as the principal of Centerdale High School, Centerdale Elementary School. She's a very hardworking, dedicated town resident who has given a lot to the community and to the school system. And so we also want to thank her and recognize her for her dedication to our students and to the community. So those were the retirements that are effective at the end of the school year, and with that, we had a number of appointments. The first one I would like to announce is the appointment of a full-time athletic director, and the appointment just approved by the school committee for that position was Mr. Glenn Williams. Mr. Williams, if you would please stand. I've known Mr. Williams in his capacity as a teacher and the athletic director here at the high school for the last 10 plus years as the athletic director. Mr. Williams is a consummate professional, does a tremendous job overseeing the athletics of the high school. Every I is always dotted, every T is every crossed, everything is in order. We've had a flawless athletic program under his tenure at the high school. And so I am really thrilled that the school committee has approved Mr. Williams to be the athletic director for the entire school district, K through 12. Previously, we had 2 athletic directors, one for the middle school and one for the high school, shared between Mr. Williams and Mr. Emerson. So now we will have a full-time athletic director coordinating both programs. And I'd also like to commend the school committee for the concept, because through my experience and the way I look at it, I really do believe, although both of the people who served in their current positions did an outstanding job, I do believe having one person, especially someone of the caliber of Mr. Williams, coordinating our athletic programs 6 through 12 will provide an overall enhanced athletic experience for our students and the community. So I want to thank the school committee for making this contractual language a reality, and I think that this will tremendously benefit the school system. So congratulations, Mr. Williams. Good luck to you. I know we're all looking forward to working with you in this new capacity. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to announce that the school committee has appointed Ms. Amanda Donovan, currently the principal of Maryville Elementary School, to fill the now vacated position of principal of Centerdale Elementary School effective July 1. Ms. Donovan, if you would please stand and be acknowledged. Mrs. Mrs. Donovan has served in a very difficult situation with the closing of Maryville Elementary School, which is very difficult on that community. She's done a tremendous job. She has received accolades from all segments of the Maryville school community and quickly earned a reputation of competency, intelligence, compassion for students, and really a superstar in the making in terms of administration. So we're very fortunate that we have the opportunity to secure you and to keep you as a long-term member of our administrative team, and we know that you will do fantastic things as principal of Sanderdale Elementary School. So congratulations again, Mrs. Donovan. I'm also very pleased to announce that we were able tonight to appoint as the new principal of North Providence High School. Incredibly well deserved. That honor and that appointment unanimously goes to Mrs. Kristen McGill. Mrs. McGill. Okay, Mrs. McGill, the last time I welled up was when the Red Sox won the World Series. So thank you for that. God.
First time.
So just a little bit about the process and Mrs. McGill. We had 26 applicants for the position of principal of North Providence High School. An interview committee consisting of administrators, teachers, and parents unanimously selected Mrs. McGill as head and shoulders above the field. She was one of 2 finalists that were forwarded to the central office, and I interviewed the both of them. Mrs. McGill is an absolute perfect fit for the community of North Providence. She was born and bred and raised in North Providence. She's been in this building as an educator for 20 years. 8 as a teacher and 12 as the assistant principal, including assistant principal of the year back in 2011, I believe it was. And although the high school has enjoyed much success over the last 20 years due to the talents of our students, faculty, staff, but Mrs. McGill has been an integral part of the success of the high school. And I am very proud to announce her as the new principal, and I have no question at all in my mind that she will be able to take the high school to even greater heights and to the next level. So at this, I would like to ask from the state legislature, Uncle Jim McLaughlin, as he's affectionately known, Representative McLaughlin, if you would come to the podium, and if you would read the citation that you have for your niece, Mrs. McGill, if you would read it, and then we'll have her come up and accept the citation from you.
Someone sealed it on me. But, there we go. Making a mess out of this, but. Hello, can you hear me? Yes. It is with great pleasure and my honor tonight to be here to, congratulate Chris. She's just been outstanding. So it is my pleasure, okay. This citation reads, the Rhode Island House of Representatives hereby offers its sincerest congratulations from the Speaker of the House to Kristen A. McGill, Principal of North Providence High School. The distinguished honor of being promoted to this position of Principal of North Providence High School on April 24th, 2019. God bless you, Chris, and I know you've earned it. So with that said, love you. And if your father was standing and mother was standing here tonight, they'd be very proud. Thank you.
Mrs. McGill, if you'd come on up. Want to take Reagan with you?
Someone sealed it, but I'm going to give you this.
Thank you so much. Love you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. You don't have to say anything. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If I may just point out, there are a number of faculty members here, probably to obviously celebrate the appointment of Mrs. McGill, Mr. Williams as well, their colleague. We have a big P-TECH event, and so many of those teachers emailed me and texted me tonight, Mrs. McGill, Mrs. Caffrey, and all the teachers in the P-TECH program extend their congratulations and wish that they could be here as well. And so just as a point of notice that all of these appointments will be effective July 1. Dr. Plata.
Just excuse me 1 second, Joe. Kristen, on behalf of the community, we want to congratulate you. We want to thank you for accepting the position. Being a high school principal today is very challenging. And anytime that this committee can provide support to you, our door is always open. Congratulations. I'm sure you do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Plata. Moving on to the next item. which we always brings joy to our night, is to recognize the accomplishments of our students. So at this time, I would like to invite Jim Isabella, the head coach of the North Providence High School golf team, who will recognize Nick Petracca, who accepted a Division I golf scholarship at Bryant University. Mr. Isabella.
Okay, thank you. Can I shut this off because I'm loud? Oh, okay. All right, I'm super loud. So before I get started, I want to congratulate everybody. I am so psyched that Kristen's going to be our principal. No offense, Joe. But I'm excited. I think that's going to be a really smooth transition. That's what I'm excited about. Congratulations to all the retirees. Mr. Williams, like Mr. Goho said, he will do a great job as athletic director. I've worked as the golf coach under him for 14 years, and I'm the treasurer for the school, and I collect all the money. God forbid if there's a dollar missing, So he is on top of everything. So that's a good thing for the town. So it's not every day that we get to honor a Division I signing in the town. It's been several years since our last one. And Nick Petracca is our newest one. He's going to attend Bryant in the fall. I just wanted to talk about some of Nick's accomplishments. First of all, he is a fantastic student. All right, he's completed 6 AP courses, which is impressive for a student athlete. He's also made the merit list or the honor roll every single quarter that he's been here as well. So those are impressive statistics, as well as being top 25% in his class as well. So those are his academic accomplishments. As an athlete, and I used this story when he had his signing, was about 2 weeks ago, and I'll share it again with you. I went to school with Nick's dad, Matt Petracca, who's sitting over there, and last time I had to speak, I was like, oh, is his name really Matt? But no, his name is really Matt, and I got it right this time, so I'm psyched. But anyway, Matt and I went to school together, and I hadn't seen Matt for a bunch of years, and I was down Buttonhole with my kids. Buttonhole's an early learning center for golfers, and I'm, hey, Matt, how you doing? Good, talking to him, everything else, and he had 2 little kids with him. Now, my son's maybe about 3 years older than his oldest son. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? No, nothing. I'm just, talking, catching up. And, hey, where do you live? North Providence. And I'm like, really? And then I watch his kids play golf, and I'm like, oh, my God, are they going to go to the high school? So I couldn't wait for those kids to come to the high school. And his brother Mike graduated 2015? 2016, and he played for me. And now Nick's a senior, and I can't believe, he was 7 or 8 years old, this little kid, and now he's gone. This is it. We've got the season ahead of us right now, and then he won't be part of the golf team here anymore, but he's going to move on to Bryant. So I thought I'd share that story with him, with you folks. But anyway, that's when I first met him. He played at Buttonhole, and he and his brother and this other kid, Tao, they would win the tournaments every week. And, you're talking 12 and 13-year-old kids, and you had an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, and he's 3 years older than you, your brother? Yeah, so you had maybe a 12-year-old, whatever it was, and they would win every week. But anyway, Nick started playing there. He also played on the Junior PGA Tour, which is a little tour for kids. And he had 5 junior victories playing on that tour, which is very impressive. He, last year, won the Challenge Cup event at Alpine. And Challenge Cup has a lot of players from all over New England that come in and participate in this tournament. It was Alpine. And that was a huge win for Nick last year. He won that in the spring. Well, let's move along to the summer. And over at Metacomet, he won the juniors. And to win the juniors is really impressive. He's added to the names of Brad Faxon and Brett Quigley. Those are guys that played on the professional golf tour at one time or another. So Nick had the guts to go out and win 4 matches, or was it 5? 5 in warm weather, and he won 5 matches. And again, fantastic feat. And as a result of winning that, he ended up being the 2018 Junior Player of the Year, Rhode Island Junior Player of the Year. Again, another accolade that's very impressive. He received a full exemption into this year's Rhode Island Amateur. That's with all the best players in the state, not juniors, a level above the juniors. And he was also selected to represent Rhode Island at the 2019 New England's Men Amateur. So again, this year he gets to do that as well. And one other thing last year, he was on the New England Junior Ryder Cup, and he played that in Springfield, correct? Yeah, Springfield. So he got to represent the state of Rhode Island there. So he's got quite a resume for golf. He's going to go to Bryant, my alma mater, so great to see him go there. This is what you turn out, by the way. So that could be scary. But anyway, he's going to play for Charlie Blanchard, who's a fantastic golfer in his own right. And again, congratulations on such a great accomplishment. So that's all I've got to say. Do you want to come up and say hello? Nick, congratulations. He did such a nice job public speaking at his signing. I thought he might want to say a few words right now. And congratulations to his mom and dad, Matt and Tina. You know, like Mr. Williams said at his signing, Nick is a great kid, really nice gentleman, very polite. He knows more about golf than I do. He helps all the kids at practice with their swings. But and like Mr. Williams said at his signing, you know, his parents did a fantastic job raising him. So I'm going to let him say a few words.
First of all, just thank you everybody here for doing what they do, you know, week in and week out to keep the community running smoothly. I know that not a lot of students are here to witness this and understand what goes on, but I just want to say on behalf of the students that I appreciate it, and I know everybody else does as well. So first off, thank you for being here and doing what you do. Second, my parents I'd like to thank for giving me everything I need to succeed. My brother isn't here right now, but appreciate him too, being there and golfing with me when I was little and going to the course and giving me somebody to play with. Mr. Isabella for putting up with me at practice every day, and the rest of our team, and keeping us on our feet and keeping us motivated to come back to practice. And then all those teachers, faculty, staff that are here, I appreciate you as well for keeping me on a good academic standard to succeed at Bryant. So thank you.
Pretty good, huh? Yeah, very good. Very good public speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Isabella. Thanks, Nick. Congratulations. Moving on to the next item, which is just an update to the school committee on the postings as a result of the redistricting. I believe those postings were provided in your packet. We sent out approximately 51 positions, most of which were the result of the redistricting. And so the posting for those positions, I believe, closes tomorrow. So then we will begin the work in earnest of filling those positions and getting teachers placed so that they know what their assignment is for next year. So that should put the teaching staff at rest so that they know how they can transition appropriately for next year and be prepared properly for their students. I do want to thank Kathy Goet, the HR director, for the tireless work that she has put in, putting all of this together. It's been smooth and it's efficient. I want to thank all of the principals who sat at the table with us for hours, making sure that we did this appropriately and efficiently and in a way that equitably meets the needs of all of the schools and all of the students. And as I've said before, Mr. Cicerone and the union and their cooperation in this process was indispensable as well. There is an MOU that we will be voting on in our packets later on to kind of govern the process that we will have going forward, considering the unique circumstance of a school closing and 51 postings coming out at once. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we're very proud of the fact that at this point, we're almost across the finish line, and we'll be able to get everybody staffed and in place for next year well before the conclusion of this school year. So I'd like to thank everybody for that participation and update the committee as to where we stand with staffing. Next item on the agenda is school facilities update, and I will turn that over.
little experience since we were here back in February. Okay. All right, here we go. So first off, I'd like to thank the school committee for inviting us back. Apparently the first presentation went okay. Just wanted to provide a follow-up progress update on the work we've done since February when we were last here doing a similar presentation. So starting with a quick recap of our team. Myself, project manager out of the Providence office for Colliers International. I'm here with my colleague Martin Dow. We have been working collaboratively with a number of firms, very, very capable firms. Gilbane providing construction management services, SLAM, Studio Jade, and Garofalo, as well as O'Day Engineers, working collaboratively on the 2 new elementary schools. And then Toronto Architects working with Gilbane again and O'Day on some of these health and safety improvements that you'll hear more about very shortly. So I'd like to start by reviewing, showing you some of the photos that I had provided back in February of specific locations and comparing those with photos more recently taken from April so that you can see visually what kind of progress has been made at each project. And then once I get through that, I will be providing, or I will be handing this presentation over to my colleague, Martin, and he will cover the health and safety upgrades. So beginning with what is, I believe is probably my favorite space in the Stephen Only project. Certainly the space I'm the most jealous of that I did not have in my own elementary school growing up. That is the Da Vinci space. You'll see the earlier photo from February on the left. I had taken that from the outside looking in, mainly because there wasn't a whole lot to look at on the inside at the time. But you'll see the interior photo to the right, just how much we've been able to complete over the past 2 months. You'll see we've got the frames and the glass in, as well as a bunch of the millwork. We've completed the ceiling grid, and we have some of the light fixtures hung already and working on permanent power. Next up, you'll see the gym. Again, this is at Stephen Only. The photo on the left was from February. You'll see in the photo to the right from April that we've got the majority of the base coat of the paint down, as well as all the electrical fixtures and the roof drainage tie-in. It's a little hard to tell from these photos, but all the glass is in place as well. So moving on to, still with Stephen Only, but this is the central stairs. Again, you'll probably recognize it from the February presentation. The photo on the left was mostly framed out. The stairs were in place. You'll see the majority of the drywall work has been completed since then, and the majority of the taping has been completed as well. So we should be able to start painting that space real soon. From the exterior, the biggest, I guess, milestone that we've hit when it comes to the exterior would be the completion of the masonry. You'll see all of their staging from the photo on the left has been taken down. Only we're completely done with the masonry there. It's all been washed down and looks quite nice. So moving on to kind of shift gears a little bit and focus on McGuire. You'll probably remember the photo on the left from February where I was talking about the birdhouses, which is a really cool feature that we've provided for the students, where they're able to kind of walk into this little hut of sorts and be able to look down to the space below. I think it's something they'll really enjoy. And you can see to the right kind of more what that looks like. We've made quite a bit of progress on the central stairs. In fact, the stairs just arrived, and we'll be installing them beginning tomorrow. So then, previously I provided a photo of the reading nook. Again, this is at McGuire, and the idea here was you could see down into the library space. This is one of the spaces within McGuire. We have a few of them where you're able to look from the second floor down to the first floor and vice versa to connect both floors rather than have them as separate entities. We think it'll create a better sense of community throughout the school. I'll go back real quick. So the photo to the right looks quite a bit different. It's taken from down below looking up. The reason for that is the majority of the work in here has been done from the ceiling down. So you'll see the ceiling's complete. We have this really nice architectural light fixture. Looks a little like a corkscrew. And then you'll see that all of the walls have been painted this greenish blue, which I think will inspire quite a bit of creativity. And looking at the exterior for McGuire, the photo on the left, we had made quite a bit of progress on. You'll see to the right that all of the windows for the gym are now in. We've furthered the exterior skin of the building as a whole. The majority of the glass is in and is continuing. Should be done by next week, with the exception of the operable windows, which are coming a tad later. And then, again, this is from a different angle, but you'll see that since February, we were able to complete the masonry here as well. And with that, I will hand things over to Martin. Martin?
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for having us here. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the health and safety projects that we're working on. We have 5 of them that are underway right now. We have Greystone, Centerdale, the high school, Ritchie, and Birchwood that we're all working on over the summer months coming up. At Greystone, we'll be renovating 4 bathrooms, 2 boys and 2 girls rooms. We'll be doing ADA improvements as you come into the building, along with lighting and canopy renovation work. We'll be doing site work as well between Middle Street and Morgan Street, and rebuilding the roadway and fencing along that roadway. And we've also completed work as well. We replaced the roof back in 2018, and all of this work is scheduled to begin on June 13th. Assuming that date hasn't changed yet, Superintendent. For Centerdale, we'll be doing site work as well. We have the design is in progress right now. We'll be working between Angel Street and South Brookside. The site survey work is being conducted at this time. We're doing some, oh, I'm sorry. It might help if I change the slide. I'm sorry. My apologies. And we'll be doing site survey work as well. It's being conducted at this time. We're doing some borings and doing some analysis of the site to see what we have for ledge, et cetera, in that area. We'll also be working to schedule a meeting with RIDE soon to have them give us their final approval. And similar to Greystone, the roof was replaced recently in 2018. And again, this will commence on June 13th as well. And this time I'll change the slide. For North Providence High School? Oh, for Centerdale? Yeah, let me go back. Okay. So they can contact me if they have any questions, and I can help to guide them through the process and where we are and what's been done up to this point and what the plans are. I actually do have a sketch. If you'd like, I can pass it down along you, and you can take a look at it to see what the work is going to be proposed. So I'll just pass that down. And predominantly what we're doing is a lot of the work in the front is going to be changing the parking. We'll be changing it to a one-way in the front of the school as well. And then we'll be bringing buses into a Chevron parking area, cul-de-sac in the back by South Brookside Street. So that will be where the students will be unloading and coming into the school that way.
Mr. Dow, how will members of the public be able to contact you with questions? What's the easiest way?
I can send my contact information. Can I send that to you directly?
Yeah, you can send it to my secretary as well.
Okay, great.
Okay, my secretary already has your email, Martin,
Yes, she does.
so we'll get it out. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. So going to the high school, we'll be working to do work on the fire alarm system upgrades. We'll be doing cabling devices and panels. We'll be placing some broken fans, exhaust fans. We're working on inventorying those now. The rooftop units will be replaced. There's 5 of them, I believe, that smaller units that'll be replaced, and then there's 2 larger units that'll be rebuilt. Again, the roof was replaced in 2018, and this work will be scheduled for June 13th as well. At the Ritchie School, we're addressing cracking and concrete of the concrete walls. The plan is to repair the foundation and replace the corridor wall, the exterior corridor wall. That work will be accomplished by raising the foundation back up. We'll be doing helical piles is the plan, and then also bringing down the existing corridor wall and rebuilding that new. The roof also was replaced in 2018, and again, this work is scheduled to start right after school on the 13th. For Birchwood, we're replacing 3 old, I'm sorry, thank you, Chad. For Birchwood, we're replacing 3 old rooftop units with new ones. The completed work to date, again, is the roof, which was done in 2018, and this work is scheduled to begin on the 13th as well. And for Wayland, we have no further improvements planned at this time. The roof was replaced in 2017. And I'll pass that back to Chad, unless you have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so the only thing, the only other thing I'll add to Martin's comments, which thank you, Martin, is that if anyone has any questions, you can certainly reach out to the mayor's office as well, and we can follow up from there. I guess lastly, I'll address Frank directly, the chairman, because I know you're going to ask the question. Well, we are on budget and we are on schedule. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Just to go back to Sunnydale very quickly regarding the parking, there's going to be more parking in the front of the school because it's only going to be a one-way for cars to come in and go out. The busing has been relocated to Brookside Street, in which they'll go up Brookside, make the turn and go out. So busing is not going to come up the front of the school any longer. And that, excuse me, that plan was looked at by Martin, the architect, the police department, myself, and the principal, and that was the agreed-upon plan to allow for more parking and to separate the cars from the buses.
Correct.
And not to cut into the playground area at Sunnydale where the kids currently have recess and they play.
Intact, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next item on the agenda, I will turn over to our Finance Director, Mr. Ronald Gonzalez. Discussion and approval of the food service contract.
There was never a contract executed with the North Providence School Department and Chartwell's food service provider, Compass Group. The contract that was forwarded was approved on April 3rd by RIDE. Any contract with the district has to be approved by RIDE before we can proceed. We are 10 months in, and we are currently using Chartwell's. The recommendation I have is that we execute the current contract the way it stands. I've been working closely with the Compass Group, other members of Chartwell's on this, and in the month, I anticipate that we will propose executing contract for the upcoming year.
Thank you. So just to be clear, we are, yes, currently, we are voting on the current contract.
This is the one we never did.
This is the one that was just provided to us that wasn't done. And yes, the reviews thus far with Chartwell's have been positive in many, many ways. So we're very pleased with the service that we've received and the feedback that we've received from students. So I'm asking the school committee to approve the current food service contract with Chartwell's, and then probably in a month at the next meeting, we will have, sorry, Mr. Marciano, I apologize. We will have the contract for the subsequent year coming soon.
Motion to approve the contract as presented.
Motion by Mr. Marciano, second by Mr. Corsini. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item F on the superintendent's report is the approval of the FY20 school department budget. Before I ask you for a vote of approval, I just have a couple comments to make regarding the importance of the context of the budget and what the school department does relative to the approval process of the budget. The approval of the FY20 budget is important to note that the school district and the school committee make decisions in the best interest of children and the taxpayers. We balance every decision to make sure that the children's needs are being met while being very cognizant not to place an additional financial burden on the taxpayers. Let me give you a couple of examples of our fiscal efficiency. The first is, if you recall back in December, those of you that can recall that, there was a recommendation made to hire an outside vendor to redistrict the school system because of Maryville closing. School committee stepped up at that point and said, no, we're not going to hire an outside vendor at a cost of $60,000, that we will take on that challenge and that we would take on that responsibility. We put together a committee, essentially 26 school in the district. We had PTO presidents, we had the police department, we had principals, we had central office administrators, we had parents, and we had principals on that committee. We had 4 public meetings, January 30th, February 6th, February 13th, and February 20th. The committee came up with 3 plans to redistrict the school system. The committee voted on one proposal, which was also at that time, we asked the bus company to provide us with the bus routes much earlier than in the past. We requested that those bus routes be submitted to us by April 22nd. Pretty proud to say that they were submitted to us on April 22nd, and hopefully we will approve those bus routes tonight. Based on the approval of the bus routes, the bus company indicated to us that they will do practice runs to ensure that there are no glitches when the 2 new schools open and Maryville closes, that kids will not be picked up in a timely fashion. So we're pretty excited about that. During the process of redistricting, we also formulated an appeals format where if parents felt as though they wanted their child in another school, they had to fill out a form to request an appeal. And there was an appeals committee set up. That appeals committee was set up and reviewed all the appeals that came into that committee, and they made a decision whether or not the appeal was appropriate. In addition, we also had a community forum on March 7th, in which we invited the entire community. We reviewed the plan with the entire community, and we answered the community's questions. That redistricting effort and challenge took place over a couple of months. And when the vendor was contacted, they indicated to us that they could not really conduct an appropriate redistricting proposal for at least a 6-month period at a cost of $60,000 approximately. So in terms of fiscal austerity, we saved the district $60,000 and we completed the process in approximately 2 months. Another example of fiscal austerity committed by the school district, as you just witnessed tonight, Kristen McGill was appointed principal of the high school, effective July 1. Mr. Goho was appointed superintendent in December of 2018. From December of 2018 through the end of June 2019, Mr. Goho basically has assumed 2 positions. One, to maintain his position as the high school principal and as superintendent of the school district. By Mr. Goho performing that function, he saved the district approximately $50,000. So over the last 6 months, the school committee has made decisions to save the school district approximately $110,000. We are very aware of our role and responsibility. Over the past year, we have replaced the following positions in addition of what I just reviewed with you. Those positions that we replaced: superintendent, business manager, human resource director, special education director. Hiring all these people with the intent and goal of creating fiscal efficiencies and providing appropriate services to children. We have complete trust in our administration to institute a formula of meeting student needs through fiscal efficiencies. It is our responsibility as an autonomous body by law to provide oversight and accountability. We will continue to be transparent, work closely with the mayor, the town council, and members of the General Assembly to ensure a quality education for all our children. We are also committed to fiscal austerity, working with the mayor, town council, and General Assembly to craft a budget that does not burden the taxpayers of North Providence. Moving forward, budgets become more and more challenging. However, between the 4 bodies of government, we need to take a well-balanced, logical approach to pass a budget that meets the needs of taxpayers and provides appropriate resources to educate our children and give them every opportunity to achieve success. This initial projected budget increase of 3.5% is a fluid document. Continued review of this budget, along with other departments' budgets, will hopefully result in a fair and equitable FY20 town budget. I know that the school committee has had an opportunity to review the budget. We had a workshop to review the budget. The budget is on the agenda tonight for a vote. If there are no questions, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the FY20 budget.
I move we approve the budget as presented.
Motion by Mr. Marciano, second by Mrs. Picard. Questions?
Just a comment.
Mr. Marciano. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. De Silva.
I'd like to thank Mr. Gonzalez. He walked in at a precarious moment when things in central office weren't running perhaps as smoothly as we would have liked. I know he's put in a lot of time to craft this budget. He certainly did a lot of extra work in terms of comparing it, and the presentation was thorough. And all that while he had a brand-new baby delivered to the house. So congratulations on that, and we thank you for your efforts. They are outstanding.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity that the school committee has afforded me. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I concur with Mr. De Silva's remarks.
Thank you. Anyone else? So the budget that you will be approving tonight will be the budget that we will forward to the town, and there will be a cover letter or an executive summary that would accompany that, which is what you have on the table before you tonight. So there's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. School committee reports. We have no old business. Moving on to new business. Mr. Goho?
Dr. Plata, I'm asking for the advice and consent of the school committee to approve the permission to dispose of the list of inventory tags as submitted.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Marciano, seconded by Mr. Corsini or Mr. Andriozzi. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Before we vote on item B, Mr. Pollock, do you want to comment on item B, the veteran parking only?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The town council several months ago passed an ordinance recognizing our brave men and women who served our country and continue to serve our country. And they passed an ordinance, like I said, assigning one veteran parking spot to town buildings and recreation facilities. And I would like to make a motion that the school department extend that also to each of the school department buildings and whatever facilities that we have. So like I said, I'd like to put that in form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Pollock, seconded by Mr. Marciano. Any questions on the motion?
Mr. Pollock, what exactly was the motion? I'm sorry.
That we assign one veteran parking spot in accordance with the town council ordinance that they've passed to each of our school department facilities and buildings. You all have a copy of the picture of the sign that's at each facility, and I would like to extend that courtesy to our brave men and women at the school department buildings.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. Farley a question?
Mr. De Silva?
Is that possible to have those signs made and designate a spot that you can handle that? Like, there's a spot available, obviously at the high school, but at some of our elementary schools? Okay, thank you.
A motion again by Mr. Pollock, seconded by Mr. Marciano. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is we are requesting the approval of the crossing guard and the 1033 contracts, which have been submitted to you after many, many months of negotiations. We have successfully reached an agreement, and we're asking the school committee to approve those documents. I'd like to thank Attorney Scungio for his diligent work and attention to detail to get this done in an expedient fashion.
Move the contracts as presented.
Motion by Mr. Marciano, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Just to go back one, yes. Next, I don't have my glasses tonight, Dr. Pallotta, so when you turn 40, you'll know what this, I should use. You'll know what this is like. So yes, as Dr. Pallotta mentioned in his remarks, one of the last legs of the redistricting plan was the submission of a draft transportation plan. We received 2 drafts from Durham. It is a draft form, but it's pretty well along its way towards completion. They did do dry runs during April vacation. We plan on meeting with Durham frequently between now and the end of the beginning of the next school year, and there are more dry runs that are planned. But we just would like to report to the public that we are well along the way of having a plan submitted, and we are asking for it to be approved in its current form tonight, understanding that it is fluid.
So you're looking for a motion to approve a fluid plan?
Motion by Mr. De Silva,
Good.
Second.
seconded by Mr. Marciano. Questions?
Yeah, there might be some minor adjustments, but the plan that is submitted to you tonight is pretty much the plan.
That's fine. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, we are requesting the approval by the school committee of the memorandum of agreement. There are two submitted through Local 920 that are contained in your packet.
Move passage as presented.
Motion by Mr. Marciano, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to turn this over to Mrs. Picard, the chairperson of the policy subcommittee, who led the discussion on the credit card usage policy. Mrs. Picard?
So tonight is just the first read. We're going to ask the committee to take a look at what was provided. We, myself, Mr. Andriozzi, Mr. De Silva, met yesterday? Monday to review that draft to provide to you. Again, it is in draft form, so the idea is that we have the procedure, the policy in place, and then would then provide the administration the opportunity to create any procedures necessary to move forward. The second read will be in May, the third in June, with the idea that we will vote and have it in full effect for July 1.
Yeah, I would just add to that, that if anybody has any recommendations for any of the policies, just contact Mrs. Picard.
Next item, Mrs. Picard, the K early admission policy amendment, first read as well.
So actually, I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Sightsinger. She has updated, I think Norma Jean sent it to everyone. We had asked her to just note where the difference is. My only suggestion would be, in order for us not to slow down the process, that you need to, an example being the K assessment, just saying that you utilize a series of assessments, and then this way the scores are not in the policy, they're in the part of the procedures. I think that will help alleviate the need to keep coming back to the committee and provide the administration the necessary move to make that more efficient. That's my only suggestion.
We can make that change.
Yeah, it's a good idea that this way, as the assessments change and the levels change, we don't have to have 3 reads of the policy, so we'll remove that actually from the policy and use it as an internal procedure. So thank you for that suggestion, Mrs. Picard. And the last item, the health and wellness policy amendment, first read.
So again, it's first read. Louise met with the head of, I want to say that, what's the title from RIDE? Chartwell's, and what was the other woman who met with us the last meeting?
Karen Weatherall. She wasn't at this particular meeting, but.
And we also met with we have 3 students who sit on the Health and Wellness Committee, so that's a really nice addition. They provided us feedback. They are enjoying the smoothies and the parfaits that come in as they walk in the morning. But the same thing, what we're doing with the Health and Wellness policy is really tightening up the areas where we're removing the procedural stuff and focusing on the policy work, making sure all the laws are reviewed and updated. So right now you have what our committee will meet on mid-May. For the whole committee will review, and then we'll probably have some additional changes just based on the first read. But if the committee has any additional information or questions or clarifications or additions or deletions that they think are necessary, just let myself and Ms. Sightsinger know, and we'll make sure we bring that in front of the committee.
Just thank you, Ms. Seitzinger and Mrs. Picard, for reconvening that committee and getting us with an updated policy and attention to the health and wellness of our students.
Can I just add one more thing to that? So Donna Humphreys, actually, we looked at, there's a scoring guide. Don't ask me the name of it right now. I can't, can't have the name of it. But we looked at all of that. There were, there's a lot of good things that were in our policy, but some things that we didn't need to update and revise. So we're doing that, and then you'll get that. Okay. We're going to look at that with the whole team.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goho. Next item on the agenda.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion
Discussion.
made by Mr. De Silva, seconded by Mrs. Picard. Any questions?
A couple. Discussion. There's one for it's a troop. I don't know if it's Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. But it's for June 17th at night, 5 to 8. Will we be in school then? No. Right? And will we have our night crew on? Probably not, right? They'll still do a night crew? Okay. Right, because this is a Monday. Yeah. So maybe we need to Okay, all right. And then, that was the only one that stood out to me. It's at Ritchie. It's at June 17th in the cafeteria. I know it's it's a Monday night, 5 to 8. It's their season-ending moving up ceremony that the scouts do. But my concern was, school is not in session. We may not have coverage there. They may end up going to in terms of a night crew. But Mr. Feroli says it's fine. Okay.
I have a question as well.
Mrs. Picard?
It was the last edition, the Friends Way, 5 to 9. The request is the same evening as the North Providence drama production, which already will be a huge impact for the parking lot. It's been removed? Okay.
Yeah, that's been taken off. Thank you for pointing that out to us, by the way, Mrs. Picard. The facility will be packed.
Drama's still happening, right?
Yes, drama's still happening. The facility will be packed. Legally Blonde next Thursday, Friday, and 2 shows on Saturday. And the place will be packed, so we don't have the room to accommodate any other parties in the high school.
You know I am legally
Bring your
blind.
friends.
I'm trying to maintain my legal blonde.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of bills?
So moved with regret.
A second.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. And Mr. Marciano? Any questions on the approval of the bills?
Just
Hearing
we'll
none,
ask
all
that.
those in favor?
Actually, one. To our knowledge, all of the bills that we're paying follow all state law and school department policy.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We have no further requests to address the committee. We have no pending business. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marciano, seconded by Mr. Pollock. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.